Latin from scratch, 18th class, possessive, adjectives, pronouns. And you see that it's adjectives / pronouns. We are going to see why. We are going to study the morphology first. Morphology means pretty much tables. And the syntax, like how this information is used in actual texts. This class will have to be expanded with the classes about personal pronouns, which is going to be the next class, and the class for demonstratives, which is going to be not yet. But for now, let's focus on the possessives. Here we have like this super simple table actually. Because how is it so simple? Because Latin possessives are declined just like any other 2-1-2 adjective, so we just need to know the distribution and the statements. So for example, if we have meus, mea, meum, tuus, tua, tuum, this is pretty much bonus, bona, bonum, altus, alta, altum, etc. And here noster, nostra, nostrum, wester, westra, westrum is like, for example, I think the example was pulcher, pulcra, pulcrum, etc. So there's no new information. Here we just have the statement, so altus, alta, altum. And now let's understand the table. Let's understand the distribution. Okay, so we have first person. So this is me, this is we, this is you singular, this is you plural, and this is, we are going to talk about this just now, okay? And then this is first person, second person, third person. And then we have one possessor, so it is one person who possesses, and two or more possessors, okay? Which is, I don't like to say singular and plural, because it's not the same, okay? We are going to see why. So, because I was saying that this is meus, mea, meum, bonus, bona, bonum, so it would be, for example, meum, meam, meum, etc. Okay, so we don't have to study the whole tables for each of them. Okay, we just give this statement and that's it. Then there is like one exception because, for example, in the vocative of meus, we would expect to be mee, not just like dominus, domine. We would understand that it should be meus, mee. But no, there is an exception, okay? So the vocative is always the same as the nominative, except for meus, mea, meum, whose vocative is me. So for example, obsecro te, olympisque mi pater, mi patrone, I beg you, my Olympian, my father, my patron, whatever, okay? So again, it's not olympisque meus, it is not olympisque me, no. It's just always me, 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 just like that. So now let's go with the syntax, and this part is a bit more complicated. Like what we just saw is like super simple, okay? Now let's see this. The first thing we need to know is that Latin uses possessives much less often than English. If the possessor can clearly be deduced from the context, Latin usually omits the possessive. So for example, we have quinctius cum patre adest. Like unless you say otherwise, you would understand that this father is Quinctius's father. So you don't really have to say patre suo, okay? Because it's like, I mean, it's obvious that unless you say otherwise, it is obvious that cum patre is with his father. But in English, we would always say Quinctius is here with his father. So you have to get used to that in Latin, we are not going to find so many possessives that then when we translate into English, we have to actually use. Okay, that's the first difference, but it is not so hard to understand. So, okay. Now, also notice that Latin possessives work more like Spanish and Romance languages like French, Italian, whatever. In English, the possessive agrees with the possessor, but in Latin, the possessive agrees with the thing possessed. Remember, agreement, something agrees with something. Okay, so for example, here we have pater tuus hic est, sed mater mea abest, which means your father is here, but my mother isn't. So here we have pater tuus, and this is masculine, not because like you are a man. No, what is a man is the father. And here, mater mea, feminine, not because I am a woman. No, it's because mater is a woman. Okay? So we are going to see it even better in the next example. The most important and confusing syntactic feature we find in the third person sus, sua, sum, which is always reflexive. That means that it refers to the subject of the sentence. This is a bit complex, but let's try to understand. We have Gaius patrem suum et matrem suam non amat. So this means Gaius doesn't love his father nor his mother. And we see that in Latin, in English, we have always his and his because it is his. Why is it not his father, her mother? Because it is always Gaius. Gaius is a man, so it's always his, okay? Because his refers to the possessor being masculine, okay? Now, in Latin, we have sum, again, because sum is masculine, because patrem is masculine, suam, feminine, because matrem is feminine, okay? So this refers to what we said here. Now, let's see about this reflexive feature thing, okay? Let's focus. Now, this is kind of complex. Here, the subject of the sentence is Gaius. So, Gaius patrem sum, this means that the father belongs to Gaius. And the mother also belongs to Gaius, because Gaius is the subject. This always refers that this is possessed by the subject. Okay, this is kind of easy to understand. Now let's see how is this important and what's the difference between reflexive and non-reflexive. Okay, so if we need a non-reflexive third person possessive, we need the genitive of the pronoun is, ea, id, which we will study soon. Okay, not yet, but soon. So for example, we have regem suspectum habebant pro eius crudelitate, which means they, I mean, this is kind of an artificial translation, but it is like this to make a point, let's say, okay? They had their king respected due to his cruelty. Okay, so who is the subject here? So let's, I mean, actually there's no subject, no, but let's imagine that it's cives, no? So like citizens. Citizens had their king respected. So this is the subject. And now, his cruelty. Okay, so whose cruelty, whose crudelitate is it? The subject. So the citizens are cruel. No, the subject is not cruel. The king, regem, is cruel. But regem is not the subject, is the, in this case, direct object. Well, actually, it would be the O, okay? The O. Okay, so because this doesn't belong to the subject, it belongs to something else which is not the subject, then we cannot use, in this case, pro sua crudelitate, because if it was pro sua crudelitate, that would mean that it is the cives who are cruel, and it is not like this. It is the king who is cruel, and the king is not the subject. Okay, I know that this is kind of confusing at first. You might have not understood it, let's say, but okay, we still have to work a bit more about all of these third person, reflexive, non-reflexive, etc. For now, I think it's kind of okay. So let's go to the next class with the personal pronouns.